All right, I have two presentations that you'll get the first one here. So this is evaluating impact of daughter plant size on the yield of short day and everbearing strawberries. So this is why do we want to know this? It's why we're here. The hanging guttery nursery with CA rooted plugs are novel to the US, and a key challenge is a huge range in the sizes of daughter plants. So when I say that in our trial in particular, we had a huge difference in our sizes of plugs using our two cultivars, Camarosa and Cabrillo. We had crown diameters ranging from 2 to over 10 millimeters, and fresh masses ranging from well under half a gram to again over 10, 12 grams there. So this is going to be a challenge when you have gutter systems elevated and different sizes of daughters all the way down if you want to harvest these long stolons all at once. So, okay, interesting. I see. Okay, so just to visually give you an idea of the range of daughter plant sizes, we have, again, obvious visual differences between the daughter plants at harvest, and you can see that that translates to the size of daughter plants as plugs. These are actually photos from a previous grad student, Sam Humphrey's work. So, and he found that there were statistically significant differences in the rooted plug plant size based on the size of the daughter plants at harvest. And then this just shows you a picture of the field that we placed them into for this trial in North Carolina. So based on that first rooting experiment, we came up with the hypothesis that strawberry daughter plant size at the time of rooting will impact subsequent plant development and yield. And therefore, we had the objective to evaluate the impact of this initial size on one short day Camarosa and one long day or everbearing Cabrillo at the time of rooting on plant development and yield in a spring production system in North Carolina. To show you the timeline, what a year looks like in plug plants in North Carolina, we root in late August, early September for roughly a month. Then the plants go into the field in early to mid-October, and they grow and also experience a sort of quasi-dormancy over winter. And then harvest begins in the month of April or even late March and goes till the end of May or early June. So our materials, again, we had a short day cultivar, Camarosa, and an everbearing cultivar, Cabrillo. We had 100 of each. And we took a variety of initial measurements to quantify what we thought could be called size. So that was crown diameter, in which we took calipers and measured two angles around the crowns, 90 degrees opposing, and took the average. We took root nodule number, we took fresh mass, the longest leaf length, and the leaf number. And for the sake of brevity today, I'm only going to be reporting on crown diameter and fresh mass. The rooting then took place over 4 weeks in a completely controlled environment chamber. We had one cultivar in each chamber. It was at 24 Celsius for over an 18-hour photo period, consistent light throughout. And we had 90% relative humidity controlled by a fogger and high CO2. And then after these 28 days, the plants were moved onto a sprinkler pad at HFL in Raleigh, North Carolina to harden off so they wouldn't be transplant shocked in the field. So these plants are 35 days old when they're going into the field, which took place from October to June. We had 4 rows. One cultivar took up 2 rows, and we single planted them along the row, which I think did help them get a little larger and develop more. But regardless, we measured the progress every 3 weeks. I took crown diameter measurements from October to March until the plants started fruiting. And then yield data was taken through April and May, twice a week. And during that, we collected fruit from each individual plant and weighed the marketable fruit, the unmarketable fruit, and counted the marketable number. And then at the end, the aerial parts of the plants were harvested, and we took destructive measurements to determine branch crown number and dry mass. Moving on to the results. we're looking at Camarosa first here. This is the impact of the initial daughter plant size. So that first photo you saw of the varying sizes and its effect on the plug plant size. And so the line here indicates a significant positive correlation. And in both years, we had a significant correlation from the initial daughter plant size to the rooted plug size at 35 days old. We saw the same thing with Cabrillo. Yeah, nothing more to report on there. So then we'll move on. Continuing to look at this crown diameter. These are all the measurements I took throughout from planting in the field to fruit harvest. And you can see that somewhere around January in Camarosa here, or late January in the first year and early February in the second year, the difference in crown size became non-significant. And I should explain that these four groups are just quantiles that were formed based on the 100 crowns at the beginning of their harvest before the rooting. So 0 to 25% means the smallest 25 crowns, 26 to 50 is the small to mid-size, and so on. So these are all categories based on that initial crown size. And so again, the crowns were significantly different, but then as they developed in the field, they became statistically similar. This was also the case with Cabrillo, where in both years we saw the difference in crown size become non-significant after late January. So then that would translate against our hypothesis with initial crown diameter, if you're calling that the size. We saw no effects on either early yield, which was April, or total yield, which was April and May. And I'm showing marketable yield here as a factor of crown diameter, but this is true of the unmarketable yield as well. So we didn't see any significant differences between the crown diameter at rooting and the marketable yield throughout the season. And that's with Camarosa. And again, we saw the same thing with Cabrillo here. However, I can't stop at just crown diameter. We did end up seeing some small significant differences when we looked, or a small significant correlation when we looked at Camarosa with initial fresh mass. So a different size metric at rooting, and unfortunately we couldn't measure the fresh mass throughout the season. So we could only look at it as a metric of size at the beginning, but we did have a very slight correlation in our April and May yield in the first year, and our total yield in the second year. And an interesting thing and why I included these equations is because you can basically say the factor in front of X that's how many more grams of fruit you're getting for each gram of daughter plant size that you have. So when you get something in the first year that you get 21 grams of early yield for 1 gram of daughter plant size, that's roughly 1 fruit. What's that?
For the entire season.
Yeah, for both the entire season, there was 26 grams. And in 23-24, it was only 9 grams, so roughly half a fruit. And so, and the significance is there, but again, the correlation is quite weak. So even though there is an impact when we look at initial fresh mass, it's very light, though it is significant. And then when we look at Cabrillo, our Everbearing cultivar, we didn't see this compared to initial fresh mass. So that was just with Camarosa, our short day cultivar. So to conclude, daughter plant size or daughter plant crown diameter has a significant effect on transplant or rooted plug size, but the crown diameter does not affect yield. However, the fresh mass is slightly positively correlated with short day yield. Any questions? Ricardo?
Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
For the presentation. Good question. So do you think the type of production system has an influence because we're going to the field and they're going dormant, then they start producing, right?
Yes.
What would be your hypothesis if we actually took a plant and put it, for example, in a greenhouse, right? Different sizes where they don't go dormant, or in a system where spring summer harvest.
And you're saying then your expected timeline would be like 2 months or 3 months from transplanting to fruiting?
Yeah, and then for the whole cycle.
If that were the case, I would hypothesize there would still be differences based on size.
So
With the yield.
Your plugs would yield earlier?
I think
Earlier.
larger plugs in general, with the exception of the very large ones, would yield more, particularly earlier, in a greenhouse or controlled environment system. Yeah, that would be my guess, just based on the crown diameter differences, because you know, that's your carbohydrate storage, your where they can allocate photosynthate and grow more fruit, so. Yeah,
Michael, what is short day yield?
short day yield,
Yeah, you are visual.
SDU.
SD yield,
yes,
what is that?
the Camarosa,
Oh.
yield of Camarosa plants. Short day cultivar, sorry,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, Hillary?
So, thank you, this is very good work and it tracks over what we already know from prior studies. But it seems to me that in this system, you probably have a need for a size sorter, just because you're gonna be in these tray plants, right? Like you're gonna put them into trays.
Yeah,
Are you guys working on that? I mean,
Bowie might have something to say about that, I don't know,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, more in what we're working on a conveyor system where it separates by size.
He's done some cool stuff.
Are you working with any commercial partners on that, or just doing that in-house?
He did it in-house right now as a prototype, right?
Yeah.
So that plant size sorter. Yeah,
But is the benefit worth the effort?
For the nurseryman it is,
Yeah.
because you don't want a non-homogeneous 45 or 80 plant cell, it's really hard, right? Maybe not,
yeah, I agree, you wanna have trays.
if
of
only
big size.
customer perception.
Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah. You want all the big ones with the big ones and the little ones.
Pete?
To add to Ricardo's, Florida goes right into yield, right? There's not a long dormant period, and I wonder.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see this experiment in Florida, for sure. Especially because they're probably, I don't know the breakdown of plug versus bare root there, but they're probably the most likely region to use plugs at scale.
Are there any Python or growers in North Carolina who would want to have the whole season meal? Like a late fall season meal?
The whole season?
Oh, sorry,
Fall?
yeah, so that like October.
Oh, fall, like winter and fall, yeah, we have a few different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Other
Yeah.
market.
But it's a relatively small portion of the market, our area, it's mostly the largest growers have a
Yeah.
small dynamic.
All right,
All right,